All right, let's talk about Rule 49. It's one of those rules every appellate lawyer thinks they've got down cold. But a tiny slip of here, it could literally cost you the whole case. So today, we're going to break down the rules for oral argument, the stuff you absolutely positively cannot afford to get wrong.
So, picture this. You've poured everything into this appeal. The brief? It's a work of art. You're all geared up, ready for your big day in court. You're automatically going to get to argue in person, right?
Well, the answer to that is a big, fat no. And it's so important to get this. Oral argument in the Court of Appeals is not a right. It's a privilege. And that one little word, privilege, changes everything. That's exactly what we're going to unpack today.
Okay, so how do you even get that chance to speak? Let's tackle the first big question. When is it even allowed? This right here, this is the single biggest mindset shift you have to make. See, in trial court, you pretty much have a right to be heard. But up in the Court of Appeals, nope, it's a privilege. The court can totally decide your case just by reading the briefs, and honestly, they often do. That means your written brief, that's your main battlefield.
So if it's not automatic, how does it happen? Well, there are basically only two ways. The first is when the court itself decides it needs to hear from you. You'll hear the term sua sponte. That just means on its own initiative. The other way is you file a motion and ask for it. But here's the kicker. In both cases, the court has all the power. The final decision is 100% theirs.
And hey, let's say you do get your wish. It's not a free-for-all where you can talk about whatever you want. Check out this real-world example from a case. The court said, okay, we'll hear you, but only on the issue of whether this rehab plan is feasible. So the lawyer gets up there, starts trying to talk about bad faith, and bam, the presiding justice just shuts it right down. The lesson? You argue what they tell you to argue. Period. Nothing more.
Okay, I know this is a lot to juggle, so here's a little something to help you remember it. Just think M-O-M. You can argue the merits of the case, the court can call for it on its own instance, or it can be about a material incident, like an injunction. And the most important part of this whole thing, you only argue what the court specifies. Don't forget that last part.
Okay, let's say you made it. You've been granted oral argument. Awesome. But now you're playing in their house, by their rules. So let's get into Section 2, how you have to conduct yourself.
And the very first rule is super simple, and it is non-negotiable. The default is only one lawyer speaks for your side. That's it. Just one.
You have no idea how many legal teams get tripped up by this. They walk in with this beautifully logical plan, right? Okay, Attorney A, you'll handle the facts. Attorney B, you'll crush it on the jurisprudence. Makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
Well, wrong. If you haven't gotten permission from the court beforehand, they're just going to look at you and say, denied, we're only recognizing Attorney A. So if you want to bring in your whole team, you have to file a motion and get that approved way before the hearing date.
This just drives home the point, doesn't it? The court is in complete control. So for our next memory aid, think 1CDS. It stands for one counsel per party is the rule. You need court authorization for more than one, and the court completely controls the duration and the sequence of the argument. They run the show.
All right, moving on to our third and final section. And I gotta tell you, this one is a biggie. We're talking about motions, because the way they're handled in the Court of Appeals is probably the exact opposite of what you're used to.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. It is a complete 180 from what you do in the trial court. Down in the RTC, you file a motion, you pretty much expect a hearing, right? But in the CA, the default, the standard procedure is no hearing. It's all decided on paper.
So let's walk through this real quick. Let's say day 1, you file your motion. The clock starts ticking for the other side. They have just 5 days to file their opposition or comment. By day 7, that's it. The motion is considered submitted for resolution. Doesn't matter if they filed an opposition or not. The court's just going to rule based on the papers they have in front of them.
So our last little memory trick for this is super simple. No hear, 5 days clear. Just say it to yourself. No hear, meaning don't expect a hearing. 5 days, that's the window for the other side to object. And after that, it's clear for the court to make its decision. Easy, right? All right, we have covered a ton of ground. So let's pull it all together into your very own Rule 49 playbook.
Here it is, your Rule 49 cheat sheet. When it comes to getting an argument in the first place, just remember MOM. When you're actually in the argument, follow 1CDS. And for any and all motions, the mantra is no hear, 5 days clear. Seriously, these 3 little phrases pack in everything you really need to know about this rule.
And all of this really brings us to the single most important takeaway from our whole discussion today. The Court of Appeals is a court that runs on paper. Oral argument, that's the rare exception. It is not the rule. So the question I want to leave you with is this. In a court that values paper way more than performance, is your brief truly ready to speak for itself?